In such a busy and hectic world, it is very easy to neglect our own needs and priorities. However, setting aside a few moments each morning to focus on ourselves can have a profound impact on our daily lives. Starting the day with a simple but powerful ritual of self-acceptance and self-affirmation can set the stage for an empowered day. Recognizing our strengths and cultivating a deep sense of self-confidence is an invaluable gift we can all give ourselves. Performing positive affirmations and other practices each morning can strengthen our relationship with ourselves and elevate our confidence to new levels. This is not reserved only for the privileged few. It is an opportunity that we have at our disposal every day. Taking those moments of mindfulness and self-care can make a difference in how we face challenges and enjoy accomplishments throughout the day. It is a valuable investment that allows us to develop greater self-esteem and internal confidence. Instead of simply hiding or ignoring our internal suffering, our primary goal should be to deepen our understanding of our personal experiences. This will allow us to identify those things that we need to let go of instead of continuing to repress them. By completely releasing those persistent patterns of self-hatred, guilt, and self-criticism that often plague us, we can achieve true inner liberation. This will not only relieve us emotionally, but it will also have a positive impact on our physical bodies. The prolonged emotional burden that these dysfunctional patterns carry can seriously compromise our immune system, making us more vulnerable to diseases and health problems. Therefore, it is essential to address and dismantle these toxic dynamics. By letting go of these old wounds and negative attitudes toward ourselves, we make way for a more compassionate and healthy relationship with ourselves. This allows us to heal and strengthen our physical, mental, and emotional well-being in a comprehensive way. It is a process of self-knowledge and empowerment that leads us to trust ourselves more, to forgive ourselves, and to accept ourselves as we are. In this way, we can significantly improve our health and quality of life in the long term. The goal is to deepen our understanding of our true power and inherent potential. To do this, we must closely examine the obstacles that paralyze us and prevent us from accessing that inner strength. It is common for us to harbor such deep-seated feelings of inadequacy that we convince ourselves that we will never be able to reach our full potential. When we identify supposed flaws or deficiencies within ourselves, we tend to cling to that limiting narrative. Many times we even find fault in others, seeking to blame external factors such as the influence of our parents. But that is where we must understand that we still have a path of personal maturation to follow. Imagining the possibility of discovering a new idea every day would be truly enriching. This would facilitate the release of burdens from the past and foster greater harmony as we gain awareness and understand more deeply the unique journey that is life. As we embark on this process of self-discovery, we will gradually discern the best path forward. Investing in ourselves will allow us to clearly identify the obstacles we need to overcome. It is important to understand that the challenges inherent in life are universal. We all face them in one way or another. They can manifest as health problems, difficulties in relationships, careers, or finances. We can even deal with a combination of these. A major obstacle that most people face is recognizing precisely what they need to release, despite feeling dissatisfaction and having clarity about what they want to achieve. Often, they are not sure what is stopping them. Therefore, it is crucial to thoroughly examine those barriers that limit us and prevent us from accessing our full potential. Only by making these limiting patterns conscious can we work to overcome them and move towards a fuller and more harmonious existence. There are 4 main recurring patterns that often become obstacles in our lives: criticism, fear, guilt, and resentment. It is important that we reflect on which of these resonates most with you personally. For you, it may have been a mixture of criticism and resentment, which is very common. Maybe your constant companion is fear, or maybe guilt is what weighs you down the most. Regardless of what your predominant tendencies are, it is crucial to recognize and understand them. Resentment often arises from repressed anger. If we believe that expressing anger is unacceptable, we are likely to accumulate unresolved resentment. This is something that we cannot ignore or dismiss, as our feelings demand to be recognized and processed appropriately. I clearly remember when I received that cancer diagnosis. It was a moment that forced me to honestly confront myself. I had to admit some uncomfortable truths that I had been avoiding. I realized that I was carrying deep resentment and old bitterness that I had been repressing. It was at that crucial moment when I had to tell myself, there is no more time to indulge in negativity. I need to change. It was a revelation that made me aware of the urgency of transforming those limiting patterns that were hindering me. That diagnosis was a turning point in my life, a call to action. I could no longer continue avoiding those feelings and beliefs that were holding me back. I had to face them head-on and embark on a journey of personal growth and healing. It wasn't easy, but I knew it was necessary. I had to open myself up to processing the repressed anger, guilt, and destructive criticism that had kept me trapped. It was a challenging process, but also liberating. From then on, I committed to working on myself, letting go of those burdens from the past, and cultivating greater self-awareness. I knew that if I wanted to move forward, if I wanted to fully live the time I had left, I had to transform those limiting patterns that had defined me for so long. Our life experiences truly are a reflection of our deepest internal beliefs. By honestly examining our experiences, we can begin to uncover those underlying beliefs that we may not have explored before. It may be disconcerting to realize this, but it is a powerful truth. The people and situations we attract into our lives tend to reflect the beliefs we have about ourselves. If criticism is a constant in our work environment, for example, it is likely because we ourselves are overly critical, perhaps echoing the critical voice of a parent or authority figure from the past. Everything we experience in our lives, from our relationships to our opportunities and challenges, is a mirror of the beliefs and perceptions we carry within. That is, our external experiences are a faithful reflection of our internal world. This can be revealing, but it can also be disturbing. Confronting those limiting beliefs that we have internalized can be a difficult and painful process. However, it is through this introspective work that we can begin to release old patterns and embrace a broader, more empowered view of ourselves. By understanding that our experiences are a mirror of what we believe, we can consciously choose to cultivate more positive and healing beliefs. This allows us to gradually transform our environment and relationships, aligning them with our highest vision of ourselves. When external discomfort arises, we are actually presented with a valuable opportunity to reflect. Instead of reacting and pointing the finger outward, we can ask ourselves, how am I contributing to this experience? What limiting belief within me is attracting this situation into my life? Often, we find ourselves stuck in familiar patterns, tempted to blame our parents' upbringing or environment. But this victim mentality only keeps us stuck, preventing us from experiencing true freedom. Instead of evolving, we continue to repeat the same cycles of behavior from the past, regardless of what we have been done or taught. But the truth is that no longer makes sense. The power and responsibility rest in the present moment, today. This is an opportunity for a new beginning, where we are the sovereigns of our own destiny. No outside influence, not even my words, can catalyze change within you. The responsibility lies solely and exclusively with you to reshape your thoughts, emotions, and actions. I encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity. You have a powerful inner force capable of freeing yourself from those limiting patterns if you are willing to face them and work on them. It is not an easy path, but it is the only way to achieve true freedom and fulfillment. By embracing introspection and personal responsibility, you can unravel those beliefs that have been informing your experiences. You have the power to reshape your internal world and, consequently, transform your external environment. It is a challenging process, but also deeply liberating. Reflect on the purity and simplicity of your childhood, that time when self-love was something innate and natural. Young children don't worry about criticizing their bodies or judging themselves. They simply delight in their existence, freely expressing their joy and discontent without fear. They embody an authenticity and a connection to their emotions that is often lost over time. As we mature, we unconsciously absorb the fears, blame, and criticism of those around us. If our education and development were marked by these types of negative messages, it is likely that these patterns will later manifest in our behavior and way of relating as adults. Maybe we learn to be too hard on ourselves, to constantly judge ourselves, or to have an unhealthy image of our worth. These limiting beliefs become deeply ingrained and can affect our self-esteem, our choices, and our experiences in adult life. But it's important to remember that innate purity and self-love from childhood still reside within us, waiting to be rediscovered and released. Under all those layers of fear and criticism, our original authenticity continues to beat. Recognizing this cycle of learned patterns is the crucial first step toward liberation. It is a moment of awakening and becoming aware. Imagine embracing the spirit of that carefree child who lives inside you again. That being simply delighted in its existence, without the burden of fears, criticisms, and conditioning of the past. Release those acquired patterns, forgive those who transmitted them to you, and give yourself permission to recover that natural connection with yourself. That ability to live in the present moment without the burden of the past. It's not a simple process, I know. It involves challenging deep-rooted beliefs and forgiving deep wounds. But it is a deeply liberating journey that returns you to your purest essence. What would it be like to regain that freedom of expression and that innate confidence in yourself? Being able to celebrate your existence with the same joy and authenticity as a small child. This is the path to true liberation. Leave conditioning behind and claim your right to live fully in the present, without the limitations imposed by the past. These learned patterns of avoiding confrontation, keeping feelings bottled up, and resorting to excessive apologies can lead us further and further away from our true selves. If guilt was used as a control tool in your family, it is natural that you have internalized the tendency to apologize excessively or have difficulty expressing your needs directly. They are protective behaviors that you learned, but in the long run, they can distance you and transform you into another person. It is crucial to have the courage to shed these false beliefs and limitations that we have incorporated. Only in this way can we truly reconnect with our inner wisdom, with that pure essence that continues to beat within each of us. By releasing these learned patterns, we open ourselves to rediscovering the innocence, joy, and wonder of life that we remember from our childhood. It is like returning to the purity of the spirit, to that unconditional love and acceptance of ourselves. Imagine being able to live every moment with the same curiosity and enthusiasm as a baby discovering the world for the first time. That ability to express your emotions without filters and to simply delight in your existence. Recovering that authentic connection with your true self involves a process of unlearning and healing. Forgive those who transmitted those conditionings and then claim your right to be fully you, without masks or limitations. Visualizing the reality you want for yourself is a powerful exercise in conscious creation. By focusing your attention on expressing your aspirations in positive terms and avoiding negativity, you are opening space for that desired reality to manifest. Stand in front of a mirror, look yourself boldly in the eyes, and start reciting your affirmations. As you do so, be aware of any internal barriers that may arise, especially when you use phrases like, "I love and accept myself." Observe carefully those negative thoughts or messages that may emerge, because knowing these limiting beliefs is the key to your liberation. These messages usually come from criticism, fear, guilt, or resentment that you have inherited from past influences, perhaps from your education, your family, or painful experiences. Although it may be uncomfortable at first to confront these mental patterns, this is a fundamental step. By bringing them to light, you can begin to dismantle them and free yourself from their hold on you. It is a process of awareness and detachment that gives you back power over your own narrative. Imagine what it would be like to live without those inner voices that question you, limit you, and prevent you from fully loving and accepting the person you are. By releasing these conditionings, you open yourself to reconnecting with your most authentic essence and expressing your deepest aspirations. It is true that in this life, we face challenges that can be overwhelming at times. But I firmly believe that our deepest purpose is to cultivate self-love, despite external judgments and limitations. We have the innate ability to transcend the restrictions that were placed on us through our education and upbringing. If you were raised to fit into a narrow and limited world, that doesn't mean you are flawed or have failed. It simply reflects what you absorbed and learned during that formative stage. Now, as adults, it is natural that we sometimes find ourselves echoing those same beliefs that were instilled in us. But this should not be seen as a failure or lack. It is, rather, a testament to the effectiveness and profound impact of the thinking patterns that develop in childhood. The important thing is to recognize that, although these conditionings are still present, you no longer have to be subject to them. You have the opportunity and freedom to choose a different perspective, to unlearn what you have learned, and to claim your own narrative. The time has come to forge our own paths, to think independently, and to shape our own beliefs. For many of us, this process involves facing resistance. When we stand in front of the mirror and recite affirmations, it is common for that feeling of internal opposition or rejection to arise. But it is important to recognize that this resistance marks the beginning of change. We often long for our lives to be transformed, but when faced with the need to take action, we hesitate to say, "Yes, I will do something different." We prefer the familiar, "No, thank you," and stay in our comfort zone. Alternatively, some may feel overwhelmed by a deep feeling of despair. Imagine the scene of standing in front of the mirror and uttering the words, "I love myself." The inner child within you may lament where you've been all this time, feeling like you've abandoned and denied that vulnerable part of yourself. That inner child has longed for your recognition and acceptance throughout time. And when faced with it, waves of sadness can arise from that abandonment. It is the pain of having left aside that essential part of ourselves. But this is precisely the key moment. When we allow ourselves to feel that sadness and that pain, we are opening the door to healing and transformation. It is in the recognition of these repressed feelings that we find the opportunity to rebuild the connection with our most authentic selves. During one of my workshops, a woman opened up and revealed her painful past as an incest survivor. This brave revelation resonates with many others who are also navigating the challenging paths toward healing from such profound trauma. It is important to recognize that while public discourse about incest has increased in recent decades, this does not necessarily mean that its occurrence has increased. Rather, our social and cultural evolution has allowed for greater recognition of children's rights and protection. This has led us to confront and address this problem that is so deeply rooted in our society. Indeed, the first step is recognition. We must have the courage to look this painful reality in the face so that we can then proceed to find solutions and paths to healing. Therapy plays a crucial role in this process, provides a safe and supportive environment where survivors can confront and process their deepest feelings. By releasing pent-up anger, rage, and shame, you pave the way towards self-love and acceptance, regardless of past traumatic experiences. It is hard and challenging work, But it is through this journey of introspection and healing that survivors can reclaim their power, their agency, and their dignity. By facing and healing the wounds of the past, they open themselves to the possibility of a full life where love and acceptance of oneself prevail. This process is not linear or simple. It involves courage and perseverance that often seem superhuman. But by being willing to walk this path, survivors demonstrate a strength and resilience that drive them to transcend the limits imposed by trauma. It is important to remember that the emotions we experience, no matter how intense, do not define our present reality. Recognizing this gives us a sense of security and perspective. Our inner child is essential in this process. We should congratulate ourselves and honor our own resilience, the fact that we have survived such challenging experiences. This reminds us of our inherent strength, despite the traumas we have experienced. Addressing topics such as incest can make it difficult to accept that the perpetrator may have been acting from his own limited understanding and awareness at the time. It is a harsh reality to understand that acts of violence often arise from the perpetrator's own experiences of rape. This perspective does not absolve responsibility or justify abuse, but it can help us understand a little more about the origin of such harmful acts. In doing so, we move toward a more compassionate vision, one that recognizes humanity even in those who have hurt us. Healing is a universal need. As we learn to embrace and value ourselves, we reduce the likelihood of causing harm to others. When we heal our own wounds, we foster greater well-being and harmony in our relationships and in society at large. Criticism can be really harmful to our well-being. When we criticize others, we often find ourselves trapped in an endless cycle of self-criticism. It is time to recognize that this very negative and destructive approach is completely ineffective. Instead, we should practice self-approval and acceptance in the present moment. People with a critical mindset tend to attract more criticism due to their ingrained patterns of thinking. We must remember that perfection is an unattainable ideal. Embracing our imperfections and limitations is key to fostering personal growth and self-compassion. When we find flaws or aspects that bother us in others, we are actually reflecting on and finding those same aspects within ourselves. Each person becomes a mirror that gives us an image of our own shadows and work areas. Instead of judging and condemning others, we should focus on introspection and understanding. What is it that we are really perceiving in others that bothers us so much? That probably relates to our own insecurities, wounds, or areas of pending growth. We often struggle to embrace and accept all parts of ourselves. When we don't meet certain standards, we sometimes turn to harmful habits like alcohol, drugs, or overeating as a way to punish ourselves. It is crucial to release those unrealistic expectations and simply allow ourselves to exist without judgment. You will discover that you are already wonderful just the way you are at this very moment. If you have been prone to criticism and viewing life through a negative lens, it will take time to change that perspective and become more loving and accepting of yourself. Be patient as you unlearn this habit of criticism, which is not the truth of who you are, but just a learned pattern. Imagine a world where no one criticizes you, where you are loved and accepted by everyone just as you are. You can begin to cultivate this inner peace by embracing what makes you unique and special. Living with yourself and deeply accepting yourself can be an incredibly enriching experience. Waking up each morning full of anticipation to spend another day with yourself can bring immense joy. When you truly love who you are, you naturally bring out the best in yourself. This does not suggest that one should become a better person, as that implies inability in the present. Rather, loving yourself leads to discovering more positive avenues to meet personal needs and express your authenticity. Feelings of guilt and shame often foster a sense of inferiority in people. Frequently, individuals use negative and accusatory messages as a means to easily control others. When faced with attempts to induce guilt, it is crucial to question the true intentions behind such actions rather than passively accepting these judgments. Many parents, due to their own upbringing and trauma, tend to resort to guilt and make their children feel bad, even when they are adults. They may invent falsehoods or exaggerations in order to lower their children's self-esteem. Even in adulthood, some individuals continue to be manipulated by family and close friends, primarily because they lack self-respect and confidence, allowing the manipulation to persist. Some may even deliberately employ manipulation tactics, such as emotional blackmail, to maintain control over others. Many people carry a heavy burden of guilt, always feeling wrong or constantly apologizing for perceived mistakes. They have a hard time forgiving themselves for past actions and often harshly criticize themselves for events in their lives. It's time to let go of those toxic emotional burdens. You don't have to continue living this way. For those who are plagued by these feelings of guilt and shame, it is time to assert yourself and firmly reject any manipulative behavior. Instead, they must cultivate self-respect, compassion, and acceptance. Questioning the intentions behind others' judgments and recognizing that guilt and shame are tools of control is an important step. From there, you can begin the journey of healing past wounds and freeing yourself from these limiting patterns. They have the power to decide their own value and embrace their true essence without the need for external approval. This does not mean that they have to react with anger, but they no longer have to participate in the manipulative games of others. If a request or expectation made of you seems inappropriate or unhealthy, you can simply say, "No, I can't do that," in a firm but polite manner. Avoid giving long explanations or excuses, as they can be used against you by the manipulative person. When individuals who resort to manipulation realize that their tactics are no longer working on you, they will gradually stop trying. Remember that people can only control you and exert power over you if you allow them to. The first few times you say no, you may feel guilt or discomfort, but with practice, this feeling will diminish. Keep your answers short and clear. Don't feel the need to justify yourself or make elaborate excuses. A simple, "No, I can't do that," is enough. By setting these healthy boundaries, you are sending the message that you will no longer accept that type of manipulative behavior. Over time, the manipulative person will understand that their strategies have stopped working for you. It is important to remember that you have the power to decide what influences you allow in your life. You don't have to submit to the demands or blame that others try to impose on you. Stand your ground and trust your ability to say no when necessary. This skill will help you regain control over your own life and well-being. I remember in one of my workshops, a woman was struggling with feelings of guilt after having a baby with a congenital heart condition. She blamed herself, believing that she had somehow caused her son's condition. Living with that burden of guilt did not solve anything in her situation. There was nothing wrong with her or her baby. In her place, I suggested that perhaps this experience was a lesson on a spiritual level, a soul choice for both her and her child. My advice was to focus on loving your baby deeply and freeing yourself from those feelings of guilt that tormented you. Instead of condemning herself, I recommended that she focus on giving her son all the love and care she needed during this challenge. Emphasize that instead of blaming herself, the most important thing was for her to embrace this experience with compassion, both for her baby and for herself. By releasing the burden of guilt, she could focus on what is essential, supporting her child and honoring her own personal growth journey. This story illustrates how feelings of guilt often distract us from what really matters and prevent us from connecting with our deepest sense of purpose and love. If you have made a mistake or regret something in the past, it is best to stop repeating it. When past actions haunt you with feelings of guilt, it is important to grant yourself forgiveness. If possible, make amends and commit to never making that mistake again. Whenever those feelings of guilt arise in your life, take a moment to ask yourself, within what beliefs about myself does this guilt persist? Am I seeking approval from someone else? Some thought patterns or notions ingrained from childhood may be contributing to these feelings. For example, in situations like car accidents, there is often a hidden layer of guilt accompanied by a desire for retribution. There may also be repressed resentment arising from a deep feeling of unworthiness or an inability to assert oneself. Guilt craves punishment, so we often become our own judge, jury, and executioner, locking ourselves in self-imposed confinement. We inflict punishments on ourselves without anyone coming to our defense. It is crucial that we learn to forgive ourselves and free ourselves from this self-condemnation. We must stop subjecting ourselves to perpetual judgment and instead open ourselves to self-compassion and acceptance. Only in this way can we heal the wounds of the past and move forward with greater lightness and fullness. During one of my seminars, an elderly woman was facing deep guilt regarding her middle-aged son. As an only child, this son had grown up to be an extremely private person. Her mother carried the weight of guilt for the strict upbringing she had given her. I assured her that she had done the best she could with the knowledge she had at the time. She thought that, on a spiritual level, her son had chosen her as his mother before being born into this life, and she was aware of that choice. I advised him not to waste her energy feeling guilty about something she couldn't change. She expressed regret, saying that she was saddened that her son turned out like this, and that she felt she had failed. However, I insisted that these feelings of guilt did not benefit her son or herself, but only depressed her and fostered feelings of inadequacy. Instead, I suggested that whenever those feelings arose, she could affirm, "I refuse to live in guilt. I am open to learning to love myself and accept my son simply as he is." By practicing these affirmations constantly, she could gradually change that pattern and free them both. Emphasize that even though striving to love ourselves may be difficult, being willing to do so can make a significant difference. It's not worth holding on to those old patterns of guilt. I advised this woman that, instead of condemning herself for the past, she should focus on accepting herself and her son as they are, practicing self-acceptance and love as a way to heal and free both of them from that weight. Organized religions have often instilled feelings of guilt in people, especially from a young age, as a way to maintain control. However, as adults, we have the autonomy to choose our own beliefs. Although our inner child may still carry that learned guilt, the adult in us has the ability to offer guidance and reassurance. Suppressing or denying those emotions only leads to internal turmoil. Instead, loving yourself means allowing those emotions to come to the surface, even if that means confronting old wounds or harmful patterns. Positive affirmations can help this process, making it smoother and more comfortable. For example, I easily let go of old negative beliefs. Change is natural and comfortable for me. Or, my path forward is fluid. I am free from my past. These powerful statements can facilitate the transition to a state of greater self-compassion and acceptance. Instead of remaining trapped in cycles of blame, we have the option to recognize our adult autonomy and choose beliefs that empower us. By healing the wounds of the past and releasing those old patterns, we can find the freedom to be who we truly are. Managing anger in a healthy way is crucial. Anger, like any emotion, is valid and legitimate. However, if not expressed appropriately, it can manifest internally and potentially lead to harmful physical or emotional ailments. Anger often arises from recurring problems that have been repressed or suppressed. This can foster long-term resentment, bitterness, or even depression. Therefore, it is essential to address anger as it arises, rather than letting it build up. Communicating openly and honestly with the person involved can be a therapeutic process. Directly expressing feelings, saying something like, "I'm angry because," can help relieve repressed emotions. When anger builds up to the point of wanting to explode or scream, it is often a sign that it has been festering for some time, often due to a perceived inability to communicate effectively with the other person. By addressing anger in a timely and constructive manner, we can prevent it from turning into something destructive. Recognizing the validity of this emotion and finding healthy ways to express it allows us to process it in a way that does not harm ourselves or others. In this way, we can release anger in ways that lead to greater understanding and personal growth. If it is not possible to communicate directly with the person who has caused the anger, the next best method for releasing it is through introspective personal reflection. Find a safe, uninterrupted space, whether in front of a mirror or simply somewhere quiet. Look directly into your eyes or focus on your mouth or nose if direct eye contact feels uncomfortable. Visualize yourself or the person who you feel has hurt you. Remember the moment when anger flared up inside you and allow yourself to experience it fully. Start articulating your complaints out loud. Express your anger unreservedly, saying things like, "I'm angry because," or "I feel hurt by your actions." Let out all those repressed emotions. If you feel the need to physically release yourself, get up and grab some pillows to hit or twist a towel. Don't repress your anger anymore, as it has been repressed for too long. There is no need to feel guilt or shame, as our emotions have a purpose and need to be released. By expressing your anger in this way, you are creating space in your mind and body for more positive experiences. After this catharsis process, you will be able to approach the situation in a healthier and more constructive way if you wish. Although it may be challenging, it is important to work on forgiving those who have caused your anger. Forgiveness is not so much a gift to the other person, but rather an act of liberation for yourself. When you manage to forgive, you free yourself from the emotional burden that comes with maintaining that resentment. However, if forgiveness seems unattainable at a given moment, don't beat yourself up about it. Avoid falling into a negative cycle of dwelling on past grievances over and over again. That will not be healing. It is crucial to differentiate between genuinely releasing past grievances and simply dwelling on them. You can say something like, "I recognize that the situation is over, and while I don't approve of your actions, I understand that you did the best you could with the knowledge you had at the time. I release this burden within me." Repeat this process of self-forgiveness and release as many times as necessary, focusing on one or several specific problems at a time. As you release these feelings of anger and resentment, you will be creating space for more positive and healing experiences in your life. Forgiveness is a powerful act that mainly benefits you by freeing you from a heavy emotional burden. Although it may be challenging, the effort is worth it as it allows you to reclaim your own inner peace. In addition to introspective reflection and self-forgiveness, there are other effective techniques for releasing repressed emotions, such as anger. Exploring different ways to express and let go of these feelings can be very beneficial. One option is to scream loudly or hit a pillow. This allows you to release pent-up energy in a safe and controlled manner. You can also punch a punching bag or just punch the air in front of you. Another alternative is to write a letter detailing all your angry thoughts and feelings and then burn it symbolically. This act of release can be very cathartic. And you can also try yelling in your car with the windows open, especially if you're alone. This allows you to express anger without worrying about upsetting others. Engaging in intense physical activities such as tennis, golf, swimming, running, or simply punching the air can help you channel anger energy in a healthy way. Exercise is a great way to release repressed emotions. Finally, you can try expressing yourself through writing or drawing with your non-dominant hand. The creative process can help you access deep emotions and release them in a natural way. Experiment with different techniques until you find the ones that work best for you. Remember that the goal is to allow the safe and healthy release of these intense emotions, so that you can move forward and find inner peace. Beyond external techniques, connecting with your deepest inner being is essential to releasing anger in a lasting way. Trust that within you there is a solution to this challenge waiting to be discovered. Take time for introspection and deep reflection. Immerse your attention in your inner world, letting your thoughts and feelings unfold without judging them. In this space of contemplation, you can begin to understand the origin and root of your anger. Meditation can be a powerful tool in this process. Spend moments of silence and mindfulness to visualize the anger leaving your body. Imagine what it feels like to release that heavy emotional burden, allowing it to dissipate like smoke. Trust in the healing power of your own inner wisdom. Know that you have access to inner resources that can guide you toward a healing resolution to this challenge. Open your heart and let your deepest self show you the way. As you go deeper within and connect with your essence, you will discover that the solution to your anger is already there, waiting patiently for you to release it. This process of introspection and self-connection can be immensely therapeutic. Remember, true transformation comes when you let your soul, heart, and mind work in harmony to find the peace and liberation you seek. Beyond internal and external techniques for releasing anger, a powerful way to transform conflict is by projecting love and compassion toward those with whom you disagree. Witness how this affection can dissolve any discord between you. Be open to fostering harmony, even in the midst of tension. Anger often indicates a breakdown in communication and connection with others. Recognizing this allows you to approach the problem in a more constructive way. Many people have experienced a deep sense of release and happiness after releasing pent-up anger toward another person. It's like a huge weight has been lifted off your shoulders. The act of letting go of these negative feelings can be transformative. Instead of feeding the cycle of resentment, practice empathy and acceptance. Visualize enveloping the other person with light and warmth, no matter what has happened. This gesture of kindness, although challenging, can dissipate barriers and open paths toward reconciliation. Remember that forgiveness is not only a gift to the other person, but also to yourself. By releasing anger, you are freeing up space in your heart and mind to cultivate more positive and healing emotions. This is an act of love, both for yourself and for others. Trust that by projecting love and compassion, even in the midst of conflict, you can transform the situation and find a harmonious resolution. Witness how this affection dissolves any discord between you. Many of us have developed a habit of reacting with anger to any trigger throughout our lives. When frustration arises, anger is ignited almost automatically, and then another situation reignites it, fueling a continuous cycle of emotional turmoil. This pattern of habitual anger can resemble childish behavior, where we insist on doing things our way without considering other perspectives. It is important to pause and reflect on this cycle. Why do I persist in this reaction? What beliefs or actions perpetuate these situations that trigger me? Anger can be a valid response to injustice, but when it becomes a habitual state, it becomes harmful. We must ask ourselves who we are punishing or trying to appease through this constant agitation. What signals am I sending that invite others to provoke me? Why do I equate anger with achieving my goals? By exploring the beliefs underlying these frustrations, we begin to unravel the roots of our habitual anger. It is important to recognize that anger has embedded itself in our body and changed our focus, taking us away from our true desires and sources of happiness. Go to the mirror, look at yourself, and ask yourself, who am I? What are my true desires and sources of joy? How can I cultivate joy within me? By asking yourself these questions, you begin to walk down the path with a more conscious approach to the challenges in your life. Instead of giving in to anger, we can choose a more balanced and healthy response. This does not mean denying or suppressing our emotions, but rather learning to manage them in a way that allows us to grow and find more lasting solutions. It is a process of self-knowledge and personal transformation. It is time to challenge and change those thought patterns that often only leave us with undesirable feelings, limiting us and hindering our spiritual advancement. Below, I am pleased to share with you a series of positive affirmations that you can choose to help you transform those thoughts rooted in your subconscious. These statements have the power to create deep and lasting change. I let go of the thoughts and beliefs that limit me. I am open to a world of new possibilities. I no longer allow fear, doubt, or insecurity to control my actions. I am confident in my ability to make empowering decisions. I free my mind from judgment and criticism, both towards myself and others. He cultivated compassion and acceptance. I accept that change is inevitable and necessary for my growth. I enthusiastically embrace the opportunities for transformation in my life. I reject toxic or self-destructive habits. Instead, I adopt practices that nourish my body, mind, and soul. I let go of the past and focused on the present moment. I live every moment with gratitude, awareness, and purpose. I recognize that I am good enough and valuable enough just the way I am. My self-esteem strengthens with every breath I take. I am worthy of love and acceptance. I recognize that my inherent value does not depend on what I do or achieve, but simply on who I am. I deserve to be loved and accepted just as I am without having to meet unrealistic standards. I embrace my humanity with compassion and allow myself to receive the love and acceptance that the world has for me. I trust my process of growth and evolution. I know that my life is a journey of continuous transformation. I trust that every experience, success, and challenge is guiding me to my highest potential. I embrace the ups and downs of this process, knowing that each step is valuable to my personal growth. I embrace change as an opportunity to transform myself. I understand that change is inevitable and necessary for my evolution. Instead of fearing it, I welcome it with open arms, knowing that each transition offers me the opportunity to reinvent myself and flourish even more. I am confident in my ability to adapt and thrive through the transformations in my life. Every day, I get closer to meeting my goals. I am aware that my dreams and goals are achievable if I pursue them with determination and patience. Every small action I take in the right direction brings me closer to achieving them. I have faith that, with focus and perseverance, I can achieve anything I set my mind to. My thoughts and actions lead me to success. I consciously choose to think positively and entrepreneurially, and then translate those thoughts into consistent actions. I am confident that this approach will lead me to experience the success and fulfillment I desire in my life. I firmly believe that abundance is my natural right. I deserve financial prosperity, full health, meaningful relationships, and everything that nourishes and enriches me. I open my heart and mind to receive the blessings that the universe has in store for me. I am capable enough to achieve what I set out to do. I trust my skills, talents, and internal resources. I know that I have everything I need to achieve my goals, regardless of the obstacles that arise. I remain focused, determined, and firmly believe in my ability to succeed. I respect and take care of my body, mind, and spirit. I recognize that my comprehensive well-being is essential for a full life. I honor and care for every aspect of my being. I nourish my body with healthy foods, nourish my mind with positive thoughts, and cultivate my spiritual connection. This balance allows me to thrive on all levels. I let go of my past and focused on my present. I understand that the past is no longer under my control, but the present is where I can create my future. I free my mind from guilt and focus on seizing every moment with purpose, gratitude, and mindfulness. This approach allows me to move forward successfully. I am a valuable, unique, and irreplaceable person. I recognize and celebrate my uniqueness. I know that there is no one else like me in this world, and that my existence brings unique value to the universe. I accept and value myself as I am, without the need for comparisons or judgments. I am a person worthy of love, respect, and opportunities. I graciously accept the challenges that arise. I understand that challenges are an inevitable part of life, and an opportunity to grow. Instead of avoiding or fearing them, I receive them with an attitude of openness and strength. I know that every obstacle I overcome makes me more resilient and capable of facing future challenges with confidence and wisdom. My relationships are based on mutual trust and respect. I deeply value meaningful connections in my life. I cultivate relationships that are characterized by honest communication, unconditional support, and mutual respect. I know that these solid foundations allow me to enjoy deep and enriching connections. I recognize and celebrate my talents and strengths. I am clearly aware of my unique abilities and everything I do well. Instead of downplaying my accomplishments, I acknowledge them with pride and gratitude. I celebrate my diversity of talents, knowing that each one of them is a gift that I can share with the world. I am a resilient person who overcomes obstacles. I understand that life comes with ups and downs, but I trust in my ability to overcome adversity. When I face difficulties, I stand firm, adopt a positive attitude, and persevere until I find solutions. I know that I can emerge stronger from each challenge. I deserve to experience happiness and fulfillment. I recognize that happiness and fulfillment are my natural rights. I allow myself to enjoy the joys, pleasures, and satisfaction that life has to offer me. I gratefully embrace the blessings around me and open myself to experiencing a deep sense of fulfillment. I honor my needs and set healthy boundaries. I understand that taking care of myself is essential to my well-being. I take the time to identify and address my physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. I set clear boundaries that allow me to preserve my energy and maintain a healthy balance. I am in harmony with my most authentic self. I deeply know who I am, and I accept myself with all my being. I connect with my true essence, my values, and my purpose in life. I live in a way that is aligned with my integrity without compromising my authenticity to please others. I allow love and kindness to guide my actions. I choose to cultivate love and kindness as my main guides in life. My thoughts, words, and actions originate from a place of compassion, generosity, and empathy, both towards myself and others. This approach allows me to create meaningful relationships and experiences. Every experience teaches me and helps me grow. I understand that all experiences, including challenges and difficulties, are opportunities for learning and growth. I maintain an open and curious mindset, willing to draw valuable lessons from every situation. Thus, each step on my path leads me to greater personal evolution. I trust my intuition to make the best decisions. I recognize that my inner wisdom is a reliable guide. When I face dilemmas, I connect with my intuition and let my deepest feelings inspire me to make the best choices. I trust that my intuition leads me down the right path, even when I don't fully understand the picture. I recognize my inherent value beyond my achievements. I understand that my worth does not depend on what I have achieved or what I can do, but on my simple existence. I accept and love myself as I am, without conditions. I know that I am worthy of receiving love, happiness, and all other good things, regardless of my successes or failures. I compassionately forgive myself for my mistakes and missteps. I recognize that making mistakes and facing setbacks in life are an inevitable part of the human experience. When I make mistakes or fail, I approach myself with self-compassion and kindness, rather than harsh judgment. I know that forgiving myself and honoring my humanity allows me to heal and move forward with greater strength. I am free from the limitations of the past. I have let go of past beliefs, patterns, and wounds that used to restrict my potential. Now I free myself from those limitations and open myself to a future full of endless possibilities. I celebrate my ability to evolve, improve, and create a fuller and more satisfying life. I accept and honor all facets of my identity. I recognize and celebrate the richness and diversity that make up my being. I accept with pride and without judgment all aspects of my identity, whether traits, qualities, or experiences. I honor each of these facets as integral parts that make me who I am, and I commit to living them authentically. Choose the affirmations that most align with your particular needs. Repeat them regularly, whether out loud, in writing, or by meditating on them. Allow them to sculpt your mind and free you from old, limiting patterns. It is a process of personal transformation, but by changing your thoughts, you will open the door to new possibilities for spiritual growth and fulfillment.